Hey, happy Monday. Glad to be back with you. At the end of the last program that we shot, I mentioned this, how we had really reduced the backlog. And why that is so important to us is we're under a new case management system that says for all across the state that at least 70% of your cases that are on the trial roster have to be 3 years old or older. That is to encourage prosecutors all across the state to make sure they are not letting those cases fall through the cracks. We are coming to a spot where we're not going to be able to keep up with that obligation anymore because we just don't have any cases that are that old. In 2022, WMBF ran a story about how many murder cases that we had pending, just murder warrants. And at the time it was 90. I checked for this program and for a presentation we were doing to public safety, and as of last week that number had gone from 90 to 46 cases. So we have almost cut the backlog of murder cases in half. Last week we talked about a first up case for murder, and we have tried, well, it's just end of April now, but we have already tried 4 cases in Horry and moved several others by way of plea. So this year alone we've moved quite a few of those cases. The important thing for victims and the community to realize is that if we can move these cases and stay on top and make the most of the court time that we have, then we can get to these cases earlier. And you've all heard of people talking about a speedy trial motion. No defendant ever asked for that, because what you're basically doing as a defendant is saying fast track me. And wait is such a advantage to the defense and a disadvantage to prosecutors that most people will not ask for a speedy trial motion. We are trying to do just that anyway, and that is where a lot of those cases have been moved down. One of those cases that have been pending for a while, and one of them that we were able to count in our 70% 30 months old or older, one of the oldest cases that we have was Craig Leggett. And that ended up with a lot of expert witnesses early on and a lot of fussing and fighting, but that one finally went to trial, and at the end of the trial, which took about 3 days of testimony, he got 45 years, so he's gone. Of course, I told you about Devin Johnson last week. That was a difficult case. That wasn't even 30 months old, but we were able to get that up on the trial roster, and it ended up pleading right before then. We have been really cutting through a lot of these murder cases in the hopes that once we are able to say grace over and spend a little extra time on some of these more difficult ones, that we can make sure to do justice in these cases. A really nice thing that we have been able to do, and I think that it has led to an overall reduction in our crime rate, is the use of our federal court systems, which will not show up in any of our numbers. They'll show up in the federal numbers. But also with our putting together a violent crime team that can take these cases from the police and work them from the beginning to make sure that they are prosecutable. They have made for a much better product in the last few years. So all of those things have sort of dovetailed nicely together to both reduce the backlog and our ultimate goal is to do good service on these cases. Obviously, justice doesn't bring anybody back, but that's all we've got. So we want to do a good job on these cases, and we also want to be at a spot, at least by the end of the summer, where we can go to the Supreme Court and say we are no longer able to comply with the case management order. We don't have enough cases that are 30 months old or older to fill out a roster. So in doing that, it is a great testament to the people that work in the office, to the people that will come in and honor their subpoena and testify in court, and to the work that the police have done. I think a lot of things are really trending in the right direction.